I was born in Newfoundland on November the 16th, 1928, and I was baptized one day later on November the 17th. I was the fifth child born into a family of six, 3 boys and 3 girls. I spent the first of my 19 years on our island being educated in a 2-room schoolhouse until I entered 11th grade. And then I spent 1 year at St. Michael's Academy, a Sisters of Mercy school for girls. It was a happy time and I made quite a few friends from other parts of the island. My mother, Margaret, was of a French and Irish descent, and my father, John, was Scottish. Our home was built with help by my father before they were, with other help, also by my father before they married. We had our own vegetable garden, hay field, a horse, a cow, chickens, and sheep. We all helped in the planting and harvesting of the garden, as well as with the hay in late summer. In spite of no TV, movie theaters, electric lights, running water, we had a wonderful childhood. Very free and peaceful. We did have a battery-operated radio that was used only at nighttime, mostly by my mom and I, to listen to mysteries and music. When I was around 6, I spent a few years living with my paternal grandma, the only grandparent I knew. Her health was frail, and she needed someone with her, and I guess I volunteered. We developed a great relationship, and I learned a lot of love and respect for older people by living with her. We played a lot of card games, and I helped her in her flower garden. Our winters up home, when I was growing up, were more severe than they are now. It was not unusual to have snow up to the tops of the fences and to have many white-out snowstorms. After the storms, a snowplow came through and would clear the roads, and we were ready for sledding, skiing, and skating again. The evenings were spent by kerosene lamp, reading, doing homework, and listening to the radio. Our heat was provided by wood, and everything was cooked on our kitchen stove, and the parlor stove heated the other rooms of our house. Christmas was usually a family time, with midnight mass being the most important event. We hung a stocking, but mostly got fruit and few candy, maybe one small toy. The memory I have of going to midnight mass, Papa would harness up our horse Polly, and we'd grab blankets and we'd get in back of the sled and we'd go across that pond, the gravel's there, and we'd all go across the ice to the church. And coming back was the same way.
You went over the ice?
Yes, the ice was so solidly frozen right there, that gravels. And we loved that because then all the other horses and sleighs were racing, you know. It was great. The day after Christmas was sort of an open house day where our neighbors all visited each other and ate fruit cake and drank beverages. The men drank rum and the women drank brandy. We had a tradition called mummering up home. At nighttime, people would dress up, disguising themselves and wearing masks and visiting homes. Discovered or not, they were still rewarded with food or drink. I lived up here in this area right here. So we had this, we could go, if this bay was rough here, we'd come down and swim here, but if it was rough in that bay, we'd just walk across here and go down this bay. That was usually calmer. It was a fun time. Where I was born, we were surrounded by the sea. So in the summer, we could swim in the bay or the coves. We also had fun collecting mussels on the rocks to take home to cook. Sometimes we would cook them with the seawater right there on the beach. In the late summer, there was always need to help with hay for the animals for winter and to harvest the vegetables that we would get that would get us through the winter and early spring. There was plenty of time for play, games of hide and seek around the haystacks and picking wildflowers and strawberries. We would help Mom pick berries for the jams and jellies that she made for the winter. There was a lobster factory. It was before my 6th grade because I would have followed directions better than that. There was a lobster factory right down the hill from where our school was. So we weren't supposed to go out of the boundaries, the fence. So a whole bunch of us went down the hill, down the sand hill, and we went down, and they didn't use the little claws, so we picked those up and eat them, and oh, they were wonderful. And so then, of course, we had to wash our hands in the pond, so they wouldn't smell the lobster up there in that pond. We'd wash our hands, and we'd dry them in our slip, and then we'd come back up to school, but nobody ever knew we got there. And we had good times. We in the summer up home, they always had what they call a garden party, and that was wonderful. They have games and all kinds of games for children and food, and they would have dances and everything. So we always look forward to the garden party. And then I had one of my aunts had 9 children, and she lived a little ways from us. So on the nights when the moon was really bright or the northern lights were out, were beautiful, we'd go into Aunt Mary's house because there was lots of kids to play with and everything, so we'd go in there and sing songs and have a wonderful time. And on Sunday afternoons, we'd go up to a house, so whoever had a piano, we'd go up and we'd have sing songs, and oh, we had a wonderful time when we were growing up, even though we didn't have TV or any of that.
Yeah.
But in the evenings, Mama would knit, and we would listen to the mysteries on TV. The Green Door and all those things.
On the radio?
The Green Lantern, oh yeah. The Shadow Knows, oh yeah, on the radio. We had a battery radio, which we didn't use in the day at all. We kept it for nighttime. But we enjoyed that, and Mama would do a lot of knitting, so she knit all mittens and all socks. In fact, I have memory of a dress she knit me and my sister. They were red, and they were beautiful dresses, a full dress. Can you imagine, Mama?
Wow. How long did that take?
She made it for us for Christmas, and I tell you, it took her a long time. But I was thinking when Mama was out here the first time, I was talking to her about, when we were young and everything. And I said, Mama, I can remember you made me and Mona. I had a peach color dress, and Mona had a yellow one. And I said they were all smocked across the front with that embroidery, And she said, oh yes, I made those when you were 3. You couldn't possibly remember that. I said, Mama, I remember those dresses. I love them. And I said, I think we took a boat ride then. She said, yes, we went out to see your father. We went out to see Pop out at Lourdes, back to Brook where he took care of the store. Because he ran the store out there where Gladys lived and Aunt Mattie and Uncle Joe. There was a store out there. And so he took care of that. But Mama said she didn't think I could remember that, but I sure did. Isn't that funny? That's 3 years old. That's a long memory. But I guess I love those dresses. But she made all of our clothes for us, even our coats in the winter. Yeah, she did. She was something, I'll tell you. Yeah, Mama. But growing up in Newfoundland was really pretty nice. Even though some people would think it was dreary, but it was not. We really liked it.
But no, you didn't have running water or electricity?
No. And Molly, they got it the year I left home.
Really?
It was a big laugh because we got through our whole lifetime without it. And yeah, they got it in 1949. No running water and no electricity. We had a brook that we got water from. And then we had a family not far from us who had a well, and we used that water for drinking. But no washer or dryer. Poor Mama, she'd do her wash on a washboard and hang it out. Even in the winter, the clothes would freeze before they hit the line. Yeah, but no, that's what everybody did, so it wasn't any different.
Yeah.
Nobody had a washer or dryer, so it was the way it was, and we didn't know any better. And kids have a lot of freedom up there because there's a lot of land, a lot of space, Even though you don't have, well, now of course they have theaters and everything, but I think like when we were growing up, we could pick berries, we could play games, we could run around, do whatever we want to, swim in the summer, It was wonderful. And in the winter, of course, it was cross country skiing and sledding and all that, skating on the ponds. We used to go down on that pond there and skate. They'd build a bonfire right on the pond.
On the pond? And it
On
would
gravel.
melt?
Oh, no, the ice gets that thick. And they'd build a bonfire on this end of the pond, and we'd just go down the hill, and we'd skate. Oh no, heavy enough for the sleds to go across, the horse and sleigh. The weather was a lot colder then, In my last year of high school, I went to St. Michael's Academy for Girls and boarded there. It was run by the Sisters of Mercy, and several of my friends went also. When we finished that last year, my dream was to work for a while to make enough money to go to nursing school with my friend Maureen. I applied for a job at Harmon Air Force Base, about 7 miles from home. They trained me to be a weather observer, teletype operator, and map plotter. I enjoyed the work very much, even though it was shift work. I remember the major who hired me said, "This will be too hard for you, considering going out every hour to take the air temperature and snowfall, etc., and the cloud coverage." I politely reminded him that I was born on the island, raised here, and that would not be a problem. So I got the job. My friend and I applied for it, and she wasn't quite sure. And I said, "Linda, if you want it, we'll get it. So do you want it?" And she said, "Yes, I do." So I said, "We're going to get it." They taught us how to observe the weather, taught us how to do the teletype machine where all the weather reports came in, and they taught us a 3-month period how to plot the maps. And the maps had to be plotted so it fit under a dime. That included the temperature, the wind direction, the cloud coverage, and all of that. And every place would send their report in, and we'd take it off of the teletype and bring it over to the map and plot it. It was real interesting. I politely reminded him. My friend and I were the only 2 girls working for the Weather Bureau at the time. I worked there until February of 1948 when I got married to Bill. My nursing career took second place for the time being until I had my children.
Oh, how did you meet Grandpa? How did you meet
At the base. When I went to work at the base, he worked in the dispensary, and he gave me my shots before I... And then I think he was dating somebody else at the time, yes. But later on, that went by the way, and he asked me out, and it took a couple times before I said yes.
Why?
I don't know. I guess I was a little hesitant at the time, and so But then I was at the club one night. We were at the club one night, and he asked me to dance, and first I said no, and then he said, came back again and asked me, and then my cousin said, "Dance with him." So I did, and then history since then.
May I have this dance?
Yes.
No.
My dance card's out, actually.
Don't step on her toes.
And then we got married in February. That was 47, and we got married in February of 48. And we went to New York to get married. Well, a lot of our friends had done that because it takes so long to get the papers through up home when you apply to get married. But if you went to the United States, you could get married right away. So we took the boat and a train and went down to New York, and we got there, I think, on a Friday, and we had to go get our marriage blood tested and our marriage license and all that. And we were married on a Monday, and it was great. And I saw the billboard, Sanja Heaney skating at the Madison Square Garden. I thought, oh, I love Sanja Heaney, and I love skating. So Dad went down to get me tickets, and I was so thrilled. I thought, oh, I'm going to see Sanja Heaney. He came back, I'm sorry to tell you, but last night was the last night, but I got tickets to the Harlem Globetrotters. But I enjoyed the game. I like basketball. But we enjoyed New York a lot. And when we came back from Germany, we stopped by and showed the kids the church that we were married in and everything. Right around the corner from 42nd Street, Church of the Holy Cross.
Near Times Square?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where we got married. Mm-hmm.
And is that picture of you on the boat with the ice? When was that?
That was coming back.
That was coming back from
Oh, and
Italy?
I was so sick. See, I get seasick. They had no stabilizers on the boats then, and you had to take the best you got. And we were stuck in the ice till the icebreaker came through. I was so sick. Oh, gonna die. Lots of ice. Lots of ice. But, we made it. It's amazing. In October of '48, I came to Seattle because I was having Marie, and I had to come because I couldn't fly after my 7th month. So I came by myself, but I hadn't met Bill's folks at all, and I didn't know what I was getting into, but they all knew me from pictures, so it was easy. It was nice. His mom and his stepfather were here in Seattle, and his sister and her husband. And it was real nice. They picked me up and we had breakfast at their house, and then we went out to Grandma's and stayed there until he came, and he came first, I think he came the 1st of November, and we had our first Thanksgiving out at Grandma's. And then Marie was born in December of 1948. And we stayed with Grandma till January of the next year, 3 months. December, January, 1 month, and we moved out to South Seattle. And then Dad went back into service, and we stayed out there quite a while, and then we moved into Seattle again. So we got an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment up on 30th Avenue. We've always lived then in this neighborhood. And so, and then after that, let's see, what happened then? Had Maureen. And then Dad went to Korea, and Michael was born after he went to Korea, the day after he left. He didn't meet him until he was 18 months old. And we stayed in Seattle for a while, and then we went to Tacoma, lived in Tacoma, and then we bought a house in Tacoma, and a couple months later Dad got orders for Germany. So we lived in Germany for 2.5 years, I think, and Margaret was born over there. And I loved Germany, though. We had a real nice time over there. Oh, I loved it over there. It was so nice. Loved the scenery, and I liked the people. They were nice. And we had...
Was it mostly other Americans on the base?
Oh,
or did
base,
you know
yes.
many Germans?
Yeah, oh yes, we went into town. And then I had a maid 2 days a week when I was having Margaret. She used to come in and do the heavy work for me, and we lived on the 3rd floor, so she came and took the laundry down and did it. And you know, we paid her 1 mark, which is 25 cents at that time. That's all they asked. Of course, I gave her a little more, but oh, she was wonderful. I wrote to her for years and years until nothing came back. I think she passed away. But I liked her because she was real nice, and her husband too. And when we went out in the evening, she and her husband would come back and would babysit with the children, you know. So it was somebody they knew, which was nice. And the scenery was beautiful over there. We'd go, there was caves up there, and we'd go in the first part of the caves and pick out amethysts there.
Caves, wow.
Little caves, you know, where they used to mine for amethysts.
And there was that big stone church, right, with all the steps?
Yeah, the church in the rock, yes. Oh, yeah, 200, I think, didn't Maureen say 200 or 250 steps up? Yeah. And we all went up there. And it was right built in the side of a rock. And the legend had it that both brothers were in love with the same girl. And they had a fight, and one went over the cliff. And he was so remorseful that he said he'd spend his life building that church, and that's what he did. It's a very small church, but you can, you know, it's nice, you can go inside. And we went inside and everything. It was very nice. Nice experience. We used to have kids used to have lots of parties, and we had a nice theater. The kids went to a matinee every Saturday, and that was nice. And your grandpa ran the theater with a friend of his for Saturdays, and sometimes during the week too. But they had lots of friends over there. A lot came back to Maryland when we came back. In fact, we've people followed us from Maryland all the way. And then we had, of course, one family, the Mahonies, followed us here to Seattle. So that was really nice too. Lots of memories. And then, of course, after Germany, we came back to Maryland. And we stayed in Maryland maybe 3 years. No, let's see, maybe a year and a half, 3 years, between a year and a half to 3 years. And then Dad got out of service. And we drove across the United States and came all the way to Seattle. All these kids in the station wagon.
Was that hard?
Kids, all 5 kids in the station wagon. Yeah, it was something, I'll tell you. Marie said, looking at the pictures, she says, "Why did you have 5 kids? I wouldn't even do without any of them. Who would I give up?" No, it's been just great. It's been wonderful, and they've been so nice, so great. And I had 2 visits from my mom while I was living. One when I was living in Fort Meade, Maryland, and one in Seattle, so that was nice too. And then I went home for a month because when we were in Maryland, before we got housing in Maryland, we couldn't find a place to live, so Dad said, "Take the money and go and see your mom and visit." And so I went up there and spent a month, and then I came back, and then we found quarters. The sergeant said, "I'm sorry, but we have nothing." And I went back another time, and he said, "Still have nothing." And I started crying, and I said, "You mean I've gone everywhere and trying to find a place to live, and they won't take me or my children, but they'll take a dog. If you have a couple, they'll take a dog, and they won't take my children." And we've been in the Army all our lives, practically, all the children's lives, and we know how to take care of houses and quarters and how to not wreck them. And he said, he felt sorry for me, I guess, and he said, "Will you take temporary quarters?" I said, "I'll take anything." So we got in temporary quarters, and with the cockroaches.
Oh no.
Yes. And we were only there a short time, and they had built new housing. And they got
And you
us.
got that?
They got the new housing, so we got the new housing. When we were on the base, when the Army sent us, they'd come in, bring boxes, and then we'd pack them, and then they'd come and bring them back, and pick them up and ship them for us, and then put what we needed in storage, you know. But when we went up home, that month we went up home, Margaret got the mumps, and I was due to come back. So we had to travel with her with the mumps. In fact, I have a picture of her with the mumps, but they didn't know she had them. But none of the other children got them because they had already had them. So that was hard there. She was kind of fretful, you know, but no, it wasn't bad at all traveling with the children. No, they were good. They were good kids. I'd say, "This is what I hope you'll do, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to go here, and we're going to do this, and now be good." And they were good. And even when I was living over at Fort Lawton, me and Dad was stationed at Fort Lawton, and I had 3 of them. I used to have to take them out there for the doctor and shots and everything. So we'd have to go down to First Avenue, transfer to a bus, and go out to Fort Lawton. And I would tell them, I said, "Now, I know you're going to be good, because we have to do this, we have to see the doctor, and if you're really, really good, we'll stop at Cressus or Woolworths on the way back and we'll get ice cream." They were marvelous. They were really good, but they were good kids. Very good, very good. Very good.
Did you like Kennedy? Do you remember when he died? JFK?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, I remember that when he died. Oh, yes. We were fixing a radio, tube for the radio, and I heard that go. Oh, gosh. That was awful. That was terrible. And, of course, yeah, I remember exactly where I was. Right there, fixed. We had gotten a new tube for our radio we brought from Germany, and the news came over and said that he had died. Ooh. That was a sad time.
Yeah, the 60s were pretty turbulent. Did you worry at all that Michael would go to war?
Oh, yes. Oh, did I ever.
But
I was ready to send him to Canada.
Yeah.
To my relatives, to Mama. But, you know, he came low on the draft. He didn't have to go.
How old was he then? Because he would have been old
Oh,
enough,
he
right?
would have gone, yeah, he would have gone. I still have the paper that told where he was on the draft.
But he was low.
Yeah, he didn't have to go, yeah,
That's
he
good.
wasn't gonna be called, but I said, I'm not gonna let you go. I have one son and you're gonna go to Canada. I'm sorry, you're not going. I don't know, but, it was me, what he'd want to do, but I wouldn't want him to go. No. Mm-mm. And of course, having 3 grandchildren is very nice. Very nice. One granddaughter is pretty special. 2 grandsons, but 1 granddaughter. And a redhead at that.
Yeah, I got my red
was.
hair from you, right?
Yeah, I was a redhead, but that comes from my great-grandfather, 'cause they called him Red McDougal. So it came from him.
He was McDougal.
McIsaac. Red McDougal McIsaac. Red Dougal McIsaac. His nickname was Red.
So that would be my great-grandfather?
Great-grandfather. Yeah.
And he came from Scotland?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Modart. The economy, probably. And you saw the place he came from in Modart, huh? It's right over there.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Yeah. I think they came to Canada first, and then they came to Newfoundland next.
Ask you what the secret to 65 years of marriage is.
What is the secret? I said to the girl at church today, she says, what's the secret? I said, don't get mad at the same time. And she really cracked up.
That's a good one.
Huh? She said,
That's a good one.
don't get mad at the same time. Someone has to keep cool. But you just take every day as it comes, you know? You got to deal with every
Be
day.
there for each other.
Every day.
Be there for each other.
Yeah. You got to deal with every
You guys
day.
have certainly done that.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, you never know what tomorrow will bring, but you don't have to worry about that, because all you have to do is think about today. Yeah, that's all.
I